everybody. This is Dr. Willie Jolly and
this is Dee Taylor-Jolley.
And we are the Jolleys, and we want to welcome you all to Happily Married Monday with the Jolleys.
With the Jolleys.
For those who don't know, we are the authors of the book Make Love, Make Money, Make It Last. We wrote the book 10 Secrets for Make Love, Make Money, Make It Last. 10 Secrets to Shape a Great Marriage. We've been married for 35 years. 35 years. We've been courting, dating together.
Over 40.
About 40, yeah, about 40. And we dated for about 4 years before we got married. And, well, here's really the truth. The truth! The truth! You want the truth? You can't handle it. Yeah, I can handle the truth. The truth is that it was 4 years of her telling me, no, I'm not going to marry you. No. You live with your mama. No.
And he did live with his mama.
I did live with my mama.
And then I married him, and I lived with his mama too.
That's good. That was a good one.
In the attic, no less.
But
it can't be done.
It can be done
because we saved money.
But they got to know why we did it, because I told her, in lieu of getting an apartment and spending our money on an apartment where we had no equity, why don't we?
That was a fancy term. You didn't know that word equity back then.
I didn't know. I just said save our money.
Because you were cheap and you didn't want to get an apartment.
Yeah, and I said save our money and we buy a house. I did at least know that mortgage payment
was not wise.
That mortgage payment would go to something that we owned.
Yes.
I didn't know that. And so we lived in my mama's attic. I told her, I said, if you will do this, I make a promise to you. If you will live in my mama's attic for 1 year, I promise you, I'll buy your house. And 1 year to the day, we moved in this house. Am I right?
Yes.
So...
but there was a whole bunch of background work going on. That's a whole nother story.
Yeah, but we did it. We made it happen. So anyway,
we set a goal.
Yeah, we set a goal and we made it work.
And we worked together on that goal.
Yes, we did. So I want to welcome everybody to Happily Married Monday with the Jolleys, and we are very grateful for all of you, wherever you may be around the country. For those who don't know, if you go to jollymarriage.com, you can get a free chapter from the book, jollymarriage.com. You can actually get a free chapter, biggest, fattest, the most popular chapter we give away free. Because we're trying to save 1 million marriages, enhance 1 million marriages, and
want people to have couples who have wonderful relationships like we do.
We do really have a great
one.
Through it all, we really do. We've been together here for this COVID. 6 months, and I still got the hots for it. I do.
So there are a lot of lessons learned, but we're not going to go into all the lessons learned, but major lessons learned.
And so when
I hear people say, I can't wait to get back to normal, I stop and think, do I really want to go back to normal, and what is normal? Because I have learned so much from this
now,
situation.
Hold on, you got to give it. you have to take into account. She is an introvert. I am an extrovert. I like people. I want to be around people.
That does not mean I don't like people because I'm an introvert.
No, I'm just saying I like being around people.
That I am quiet and I have fewer words than you.
Okay. Yes, fewer words than me, and sometimes
I'm much more introspective.
And she'll sometimes tell me, "I have no more words." I have no more words.
Because I'm emotionally broke down.
I can't talk anymore.
I've been stimulated too much.
And I like stimulated
me.
Okay, let's go. We got a lot to talk about.
The topic for tonight is...
Now, this is a serious topic, folks. This is really actually a serious topic. As much as, I like to talk about sex. Y'all know we talk about the 3 things that break up marriage: sex, money, and communication. They break up marriage. They break up marriage. And we want to talk about Baltimore's in, South Carolina's in. But here's what we want to say. We talk about sex. Y'all know I like to talk about sex and how a brother got to get hooked up often. Because men think about sex.
But there's so many things that influence sex.
Yes, that's right. But
influence intimacy.
And we talk about money. We talk about money because money breaks up marriages. But tonight we got to talk about some communication and specifically some serious topics. So let me set it up. My son... My brilliant attorney's son.
We had dinner together on the porch yesterday. That was so nice. So he brought us late lunch, brunch.
He brought us brunch and said, I want to treat y'all. Now that he's a big-time lawyer, he doesn't let me buy anymore. He pays all that.
That's so nice.
I love it. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. So he brings us lunch, or he'll bring us dinner or whatever. So he brought us a meal, and we sat on the porch because we're socially distant because he's out and about, and we're in a bubble. So
he and his girlfriend.
yeah, and so
very nice.
we were talking, and he mentioned that he was going to leave from us and go to a restaurant to visit one of his friends who was in town. I said, "What's he in town for?"
For two things.
For two things.
Two funerals.
Two funerals, and both of them were people who committed suicide.
How is that possible?
And so
they proceeded to talk about that there were several friends, or at least people that they knew, who had committed suicide recently. And these are all, well, young people.
Well, some are young, but but the statistics. So that made us stop and say, okay, people have been in these homes for 6 months, 8 months now. Let's say March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. We're in the 8th month of being shut in. We've seen a rise in domestic violence.
And that's the main thing that we talked about.
Yeah.
Couples and domestic violence. People discover, I really don't like them.
Right.
I can't figure out how to even deal with them. And people becoming physically.
We've seen a rise in COVID divorces.
Well, at least preparing, because some of them let me just wait until it's over with.
But we're also seeing a rise in suicides. And so we have to address this. We got to talk about it because we want to make sure people don't make that decision. Suicide is a permanent decision for a temporary problem. Let me say that again. Suicide is a permanent decision for a temporary problem. Whatever the problem is, folks, this too shall pass. And so we don't want anybody to make that decision, and we don't want you to be placed in a position where you're not talking. So Dee, we've got some great content.
All right, so we just kind of want to unpack it and say, why do you think that this is happening? And one piece of information that our son provided, and then I had to go look it up.
Yeah.
Because we were not.
I knew she was going to look it up because y'all know she's a book. She reads 3-4 books at one time. There's a book in one bathroom. There's a book in the bedroom. There's a book in the kitchen. She's reading 3-4 books always at one time. 4 books, 5 books a week. Go ahead.
So we said to him when he was naming out the people that he knew or friends of friends who had passed away, and he said, "Did you know that Deborah Lee's son passed away?" And we were like, Deborah Lee's son, who's the former CEO of BET. So I had to look it up. So then there was information that said his name was Quinn Coleman, and he was only 31 years old, so still right in that same age category as William and his friends. And he was an A&R rep for Capitol Records.
Wow.
And also a DJ on the side. Right? Healthy, everything.
And from what I said, I know a brilliant young man, a bright young man, a personable young man, because our friends Brian and Kristen went to either school or through Jack and Jill or different kind of.
So they're all here in D.C.
Right.
Okay. 31 years old. Pronounced dead on Sunday morning, August 16th.
Sharon Fantos, I've lost 2 people in my circle to suicide in September. One a nephew of a friend, 21, and another a father and husband of a friend of ours. So you know what? We realized we had to talk about this. How is this impacting you?
So there's a lack of communication.
That's what we want to get to.
Communication breakdown. So we talk about sex, money, and communication. But the communication is the common thing, and I think it's difficult. And what I call a vulnerability. Some of us don't want to be vulnerable because to say I have challenges, that I'm struggling, means that you're vulnerable. And is there something wrong with being vulnerable? Well, and to say that I want help?
That's the problem. We live in a culture where people feel it's weakness to ask for help. And I think we have to get past that. I think it's very important. Les Brown used to say something, it does not make you weak to ask for help. Asking for help helps to keep you strong. Oh, I love that.
But we have to continue to remind people.
Let me say one more thing when 2003, my mother died, my brother died, and my father-in-law, her father died within 30 days. My mother died. She was 87 years old. I was prepared. I had prepared myself for my mother's demise. She had gone down, had end-stage dementia. I was fine with that. But then 25 days later, my brother, my only sibling, dies. That moment, that minute, I thank God I was wise enough to call my pastor when I got back from the hospital and say, I need help. I need counseling right now. And I had no idea that within the next couple of hours, my father-in-law would die. So we went through it, and I went through counseling, and now I'm a big proponent of grief counseling. And I tell people how important.
You have to talk about it.
You have to talk about it.
Not be ashamed, just talk about how you're feeling.
Yes.
So with the pandemic, the situation is even worse. So you say, well, why is that? Because there seems to be no end in sight.
Yes. It's uncertainty. It's called uncertainty. The problem we're dealing with is uncertainty. In fact, Sharon Fanto and I talked about that just the other day when I was talking to her with her team from Cox Media, and the fact that we are all struggling with uncertainty. And that's where the challenge is. We don't know when it's going to end. We don't know what's the end point. But that's why we are so anxious to start programs like this. Or if you're not on my daily 1-minute motivational message every morning,
his
folks.
1-minute messages do give hope.
They give hope.
It just makes you, okay, I can go out and be a gladiator. I like being a gladiator as opposed to being
She liked that message.
I like the message.
When I told her, you got to be a gladiator. Now, look, to go get that, you just go to winwithwillie.com, winwithwillie.com. Sign up for the newsletter, and we send it to you free. Because we want to help people. Pat Smith said, even when you ask for help, our mental health system is broken. They wait to see a psychologist. They'll wait. You're right. But you know what? Sometimes you can get help from...
there is a suicide line.
So
nobody has to know, but that's on my list. That there's a suicide hotline. I mean, let's see. Here it is.
1-800-273-8255.
Anytime. That's a 24/7. So the more sophisticated people, I've got to call my suicide hotline.
Call the suicide hotline if you ever get to that point.
1-800-273-8255 at any time. And did you know that you can just also dial 911? I didn't know that.
Scarlett is a member of a military family. We see a great number of suicides due to PTSD and depression in general. We need to remove the negative stigma. That's the thing. I thank you, Scarlett, which is what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Folks, it does not make you weak when you need help. I'm telling you, when I knew that I needed help, when my brother died, I called my pastor that moment. I need help. Look, look, here's how I say it. If you broke your arm, what would you do? You go to the doctor, right? If you broke your foot, what would you go to do? You go to the doctor. But many of us have a broken heart or a broken spirit. And what we try and do is heal it ourselves. No. Go get the doctor's help, or go get help of a professional, and call the hotline. Call 911. Do not make a permanent decision for a temporary problem. This too will pass.
Now let's look at why.
Right.
So why is it? So they don't have all the research information in yet, because we've still got like 3 months to go.
Right.
But in terms of what seems to be happening across the globe, they're saying that with the pandemic, they have what is called more mental instability. Mental instability. Now, why is that? Fear. And there's fear in a couple of different ways, okay? There's fear, number one, from getting the disease.
Right.
So we know right now, with the head of the government, nobody is really immune. But we do know. You put the mask on.
Where your mask?
I got one right here.
She got one right here. We got masks everywhere. She got masks. I think every time she go to the store, she come back with more masks. Yes, you do.
I do not. I buy them online, but I got a set.
They got them over there.
Oh, yes.
We got them over there.
Okay.
We got them everywhere.
The fear of getting the disease because it's unseen. So if you go without a mask, you can breathe it in from the air, from the particles in the air from somebody who looks like they're healthy and they might not be.
Right.
And now with the fact that you even have the most secure places in the government are not secure. So you got that fear. Then you have the fear of your passing it on to somebody. That
was my biggest fear. Yeah. For those who've been joining us for a while, you know that a few weeks ago, I had a mask on, and we were socially distanced in the house because
at least 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, 3 weeks ago, and
For
because
2 weeks.
I for 2 weeks was quarantined because I had spoken at a funeral and a inside event, and it was people everywhere. Some didn't have masks on, and I started.
And you get kind of caught up.
Yeah,
And he's
so
much
and I
more
pulled my
social.
mask down to speak, and look, and you know what? When I had some of the symptoms, okay, and for those who don't, I don't have time to go into what I did, because if you listen to my messaging, you'll know I did some specific things. But here's the thing that bothered me the most. I woke up in the middle of the night in a hot sweat. I said, what would have happened? How would I feel if I came home and gave it to my wife and she died? Now that's what
I was sleeping. I had already prepared and decided I was going to move myself to another bedroom, which I did.
Which you did. Now, that said, one of the things that what brought us up to this conversation about how is COVID impacting your relationship, and this is beyond sex, is that we have a friend whose wife made a decision to go to a event in Delaware,
in a neighboring state.
In a neighboring state. And
with her daughter.
Well, it might not have been, but wherever she went was a neighboring state, and
with her
daughter, and she and the daughter both got COVID.
It was a church service, actually.
And they came back, and the husband took care of them, and they both had a mild reaction to COVID. He, on the other hand, got sick bad.
He was hospitalized.
Oxygen, ventilator, lost 38 pounds, and it took him over a month to even get his strength back. And so he called me, and we had a long talk, and I said, well, how's that with your wife? He said, we're okay now. But here's the thing. I know that she felt bad.
Yes.
I know she felt bad. And so I want to say to you, you love your loved ones. You have to imagine what happened if you brought it back to them, not meaningly, but it happened. You know, so
while you might not be as anal as I am,
yes,
but the fact that you are thoughtful and caring of your loved one because their health status is not the same as yours.
Right.
So we just don't know how it will affect each individual because it affects individuals differently.
Right. Right.
So the mental instability is a result of the fear of getting the disease, the fear of passing the disease on to others, and just the depression and anxiety as a result of the chaos and the depressing of news of what's going on from day to day. So how do we get around that?
Well, here's a couple of things we want to talk about from the book. One of the things we talk about from our book about communication. We have a whole chapter about communication, and that's what we want to get to. In the book, we talk about how critically important it is, communication. Talk to each other.
You know, I was reading something that said talking to each other is very different than communicating. That's interesting. So are you talking because you have something to say, which means that you're not listening to the other person, which really means that you're not communicating. You're not really receiving what the other person has to say. You're not being thoughtful. They say, and I try, you do this to me, and that's why sometimes I have to say, are you really listening to me? Because I get on a tirade. When he takes me out for a drive, he drives Miss Daisy. He has a little electric car that I don't drive. And so he takes me out for a ride, like on our date night and some other, let's go out for a drive. And then that's when I expound on the state of the world and everything in it. He goes,
I go, mm-hmm. I know she got to get it out. Now,
and then sometimes I'll say,
are you listening?
Are you listening to me?
And I say, yeah.
And then he'll summarize
what she said.
He says that he is really communicating because I've absorbed so much information during the course of the day. It's like, oh my God, I need to be able to discuss this.
Right. So let me go through something here in the book, the D section of the communication chapter. The power of effective and active listening. critical part of being a good communicator is being a good listener. And I think I'm a good communicator, but I've learned to listen.
You've learned
I've learned to listen.
Did you hear what he said?
I learned to listen. Okay, certainly if you want to live in harmony as a married couple, it is crucial that you slow down, close your mouth, and take time to listen to your spouse. Bam!
I think that's very hard.
It's hard, but brothers, and particularly men, you see this often in men. Men, you got to listen to your wives. Now, wives, you got to also be willing to listen to your husband. You sometimes, as my pastor says, you got to zip it. Just let him say what he got to say. This is critical because men need to talk well, and women sometimes you need to just listen. And don't beat back. Listen. Both parties listen. It's the way that you become effective in your communication skills.
Now, what does that mean? Listen.
That you are not just hearing it, but you're receiving it and actually empathizing with it.
Okay.
Okay. In other words, I don't have the answer before you finish talking. Okay.
So you appreciate what I'm saying in terms of me expressing myself.
Yes.
My frustration.
And this is going to help these stress moments where marriages are being stressed to the limit because you're stuck in the house. What we've talked about this week with a couple of my clients, we've talked about the fact that we now got people who are working from home, who as working from home are not having the interaction with their coworkers and the camaraderie. You're also being teachers, administrators. You're also being housekeepers, because we haven't had our housekeepers in.
I've been housekeeper, but you know what? I really like being housekeeper. That's another topic.
That's another topic, because she got some OCD issues.
I am OCD.
Okay, so anyway, but we got you, and you got all these other pressures. Then you got to be the house, the wife, the husband, the fix-up man, the housekeeper lady, or vice versa.
And I would say also there is pressure to be professional in front of that screen.
Yeah.
And many people who now are only able to communicate their professionalism via the screen and who don't know how to present professionally are like stuck.
Right.
Because some people are getting promotions. Some aren't.
Right. So again, we know that this is a tough time. I want to make sure we don't get off track, because you're getting ready to go down.
No.
You getting ready to go down.
I was just going to say, there's that pressure professionally when we talk about you got all these other things, but your primary thing is, I got to keep my job.
Okay, well, that's good. But I want to make sure we talk when you talk about it. And how about when you lose your job? Mm-hmm. How about when you've lost your job and the pressure that makes? How about when money is tight?
How does it make you feel? And are you talking about how you are going to stretch the dollars that you got left, or what are the alternatives?
Then that's why it goes back to what Sharon said about a friend of her husband committed suicide. I want to thank, before we go too far, I want to thank Lynn and Ronnie Boardley for inviting us to their home, where we did socially distant, had dinner to celebrate our anniversary. We've been waiting to go out there. We had a nice time with them. Thank you, Lynn and Ronnie. I want to say to everybody, look, please heed this. If you feel stress, if you feel anxiety, and it's impacting your mental state and impacting your relationship, whatever you do not make a permanent decision for a temporary problem. Reach out to professional help. Call somebody. Call the suicide hotline. If you're online, the number is there, right? People have put it in the chat.
Oh, great.
It's in the chat. Call and get help. Remember, we've got to first start with a mental status that asking for help does not make you weak. It helps to keep you strong.
Let me give that number.
Give it a name.
1-800. 273. 8255.
Put it in your phone.
24/7.
Put it in your phone when you feel those moments when you feel like, okay.
Or you might know of someone who is exhibiting symptoms of not being like their normal selves.
Talk to each other. Communicate. Ask, is everything okay?
So don't be afraid to be the first one to say, how are you doing?
All the time.
And just to listen.
And listen. And I listen.
But the other person has to be open to listen.
Be open to listen, but the other person has to be open to talk. But if they're not open to talk, just...
But sometimes you're not open to talk because you don't think the person
is listening.
Wants to listen to you.
That's right. So we are serious about this. My son's comments yesterday really made, it pierced our hearts. We want married couples to be happily married for the duration of their lives, for a long time, not to end it for a reason that they're overwhelmed. And
certainly you are negatively impacted if your child.
Yeah, so we want you to
commit suicide.
We want everybody to be mindful of communication. That is a critical part of our marriage book. If you don't have a book, go to jollymarriage.com. I think that's the chapter we give away. Isn't that right?
Yes.
Go get it free. Just free, please. Go get the free chapter and tell everybody you know.
Okay.
This is important. Send to everybody on your newsletter and your Facebook. Go to jollymarriage.com and get the free chapter. It's on communication. There might be one person you know who is on the verge, who just needs to be encouraged. We want to thank you for your time. Jollymarriage.com, and we'll say, Jolly out.
Jolly out.
Love y'all. God bless you. Bye-bye.